welcome to my presentation, Holiday Cybersecurity Realities. When we submitted this during the holiday period, it made sense. Now it's more weird, you know, talk about holidays that just passed now. But you'll see, like this talk is about data and being critical, have critical thinking on data that you have access to or that you can analyze. And so it should still be relevant. Quickly, I'm a cybersecurity research director, but I also run an event very similar to CypherCon in Montreal. That's basically all you need to know, I think. So this research, all of the RDP interception work I'm working for was presented at Black Hat and DEF CON last year. We used the theme around Dungeons and Dragons. So it was a way to convey the message around RDP attackers. But this presentation today is using the same set of honeypot and interception technology, which is open source. So back then we analyzed adversaries attacking our systems and inside who did compromise the systems by looking at PyRDP honeypots. So PyRDP is the Python library that allows you to do RDP monster in the middle. And the honeypots are deployed on the cloud that we run. We run full interaction, Windows honeypot. It looks like this. So basically, when you capture an adversary, you can see there, this is the replay tool. So when we, after the fact, look at a replay, we have like full mouse movement, which was highlighted. You see at the bottom of the screen, when the attacker authenticate, we have username, password, host information, domain information. Private IP is also collected and logged. And then we load the whole screen so we can really see human. It's very rarely scripted. It's mostly human adversaries that are interacting with the system. And we can see them as they interact with the system. It actively steals the clipboard also. Even if they're changing passwords and using a password field, since we have access to the raw I/O of the clipboard, we have access to that. There are many presentations online about this technology, how it was built and how it works. So this is not the focus of the presentation, but it's the basis. So this is why I'm spending a minute here. But so basically, this technology allows us to monitor Windows systems as we could monitor, let's say, a parking garage or a convenience store and stuff like that. But so this is attackers once they are in. This was our presentation last year. But how do they appear in our systems, right? They're not magically appearing with the right set of credentials. They are performing brute force attack. So today we're going to look at the brute force attack. This is what we're looking for in order to assess, is there more or less hacking going on during the holidays. And the data that we crunched is, this is 3 years of data. For the purpose of this research, we wanted a sample that was stable. So we took 1 year from April 2022 to April 2023 in order to be able to have a full year. So to be able to set when in that year attacks are low and where it is high, so that we can say, is there more or less during the holidays? Out of this, we can derive obvious things that we can analyze, right? Administrator username. So it turns out that the variation of the word admin is the most popular username that is brute forced. So this includes local specific variants. So in French, in German, and in Spanish, we can see all administrator translated, and it's very used. So this is what we mean by variation of the word admin. And then other than non-admin represent 40%. The password attempt analysis, we saw like kind of like a PIN number, so simple sequence of digits, so 10 or less digits. We saw variations on the word password, but what we didn't expect and we see is variation on the information stored in the RDP certificate. It means that attackers are looking at that security handshake, extracting strings out of that handshake, host name, domain, CN, stuff like that, and then using that in the attack that they are mounting against the system. But then, these were kind of the easy picks, right? What is less obvious that we can look at when we have extensive data around RDP brute force attack? And one of them was country. You know, doing the pew-pew map is, as I showed you one earlier already, and you know, it links to attribution and states, so it's not gonna go away. I have more pew-pew. But one thing that we didn't look at is a pattern through time. And so this is why the holiday, but also it can be looked at on a monthly basis and on a daily basis. So our first iteration of trying to identify patterns through time was a paper-based way of saying, okay, the attack starts at this point and then it lasts for that length of time, which is, you know, everyone who ran scanner or brute force tools know about this, right? You start a sequence of attempts and then it finishes eventually. So this was the first iteration looked like, and we were like, oh, it is promising. We can maybe see some patterns throughout. Then we did another one in Excel, and then we clearly see like the beginning and then the end, and then, oh, the person is not in front of the computer or is doing something else, and so it's not starting immediately after, and it is a variant length depending on the word lists that they are using. So at this point we knew, okay, it has value, but it cannot scale if we're looking at thousands, tens of thousands of adversary to do this in Excel, you know, by hand basically. So then we built it over Python, Panda, and the Plotly library inside the Jupyter Lab pipeline, and we recreated that Excel. So on the y-axis, you have days. It starts from 1 and goes up to 30, 31. And then on the left axis, you have the time during the day, which goes from the 0 to 24 hour. And so what's interesting here is that we have, on one axis, we also have hover plots. So these plots, these subplots, if you want, on top and on the right-hand side, will summarize what's visible inside of the plot, so they're kind of projections. And the one of the right-hand side is especially useful because it allows you to see days without activities, which could map to weekends and or holidays. And so we then started to explore by IPs, so looking at several of these graphs, and we see aggressive attackers. So this is one IP that is grinding away the honeypot, trying to find the right combination of username and password. And this is, so the aggressive attacker that have this shape are approximately 8% of our data set. The other ones that we see that are like, this would be a typical, you know, some days off, some length of hour off, start somewhere, end somewhere, and then disappear. This is approximately 14% of our data set. Another one that is interesting is that this is very yellow, so it's individual attempts. It's not, there's never more than one per time slot. And it has long pauses, so several minutes in between attempts. Still, you can see that they are trends, where it starts and goes for a long time and then stops. So it means they're still using word lists, it's just that they're slower, they take more time. And we think that it's to avoid account lockout policies, especially with Windows 11. I think by default, the RDP lockout policy is a lot more aggressive than it used to be. And so I think they're trying to avoid that. This represents around 32% of our data set. And here, weekends are clear. And this month is July, and the dates mapped. The date matched weekends. So you can see here where I'm going through by saying our attackers attacking during the holidays. So we see that they actually take weekends, that's for sure. Now here we have 8-hour holes in this that we can see. Okay, obviously it started after the two-thirds of the month, but still there are holes that are aligned very clearly. Approximately 15% of the data that we analyzed had a pattern similar to that, at least the 8 hour of inactive periods. Now, if we start to align some of these, like we can talk about a sleep or a work pattern, and the idea is that you can launch the script and go to sleep, but you will not launch a new sequence of attack while you are asleep. So this is why, obviously, it can be tricked, but it is to a certain extent harder to trick, and can help you figure out the time zone of where the time zone or the lifestyle, you know, of the attacker. And then on the other maps, we can see weekends, but also holidays. So weekends should be 2 days, but if they are 3, 4 more, it can tell something about then the cultural, you know, weekend or days off that the individual, the attacker, is taking. So this is other intelligence that is hard to cheat, hard to lie, because you are taking some time off. So we propose here that the hacker, they do have weekends and they do sleep at night. Now, what about the holiday season? So let's dive deep into this premise. I'm going to go quickly over the reason why we looked at this is that we felt that the narrative published on LinkedIn was false. And here we have like hackers are waiting for their parade, they're waiting for the holidays. Are you safe during the holidays? And then you have like Santa obviously managing a SOC. Don't let hackers crash your fun is the headline here. When the holiday comes, it's not only Santa Claus, but also scammers. Secure your business for holiday season. Oh, okay, this is what it's about. It's about selling, right? Creating fear tactics. Holidays are a gift for hackers. Another, you know, pun, twisting it in another direction. And then we seem to feel like there's less staff, and so this kind of incentivized organizations to staff people for the holidays, which would then put more burnout or burden on the cybersecurity staff that is already, you know, stressed and overworked. Especially like 2 years ago, Log4j happened, like in mid-December, I believe. So you have like Log4j handling people, and you're telling them, oh yeah, you need to do shifts to man the SOC during the holiday period. Like, is there data besides salespeople on LinkedIn that says that? And so this is when we decided to look at it. And we had to leave the month view in order to know that there is a trend, right? If we look at only the December month, we don't have perspective on what happens during the other months. So this is one line is a week. So there are 52 lines during the week. This is the same data set, so it doesn't end exactly with a holiday period. The holiday period is more at the 5/6 or I mean 6th, 8th of this graph. 5/8 I meant. And so we had the chart, and then we figured like, oh, like we had it all one color, but then we figured, oh, we can have another layer of data by doing top 5 countries and then others. You know, not all countries, but top 5 others. And so this reveals a lot of interesting things. I'm going to go quickly over it because, I mean, they're just like anecdotal, oh, Hong Kong and Russia, and we're all angry about them and stuff. But it does show that it is pretty constant regarding RDP. Now, here we removed Russia because Russia yielded a constant flow of 200,000 attacks per week, and now we do see a little surge in December if we remove Russia. But is it at the right spot of the month? Now we decided to look at everyone besides Russia data on our heat map that we previously looked at, and then what we realized is that actually, yes, there are brute force attempts during the holiday season, but there's more at the beginning of the month. Now, you know, is there another meaning? Is there another holiday? Is there something else that we're not looking? This is where, you know, we need cultural diversity in order to be able to answer a hypothesis like that. But for us, it was a conclusion that it was not really a hard data point that the adversaries were focusing on the holidays for RDP brute force attack. You know, you have to realize this is what we're talking about. Now, what about Russia, though? So Russia, if we removed all of the other countries and focus only on Russia, we can see that there is a surge in December of activity. But it's not the highest peak. You know, you have other peaks that are above and or similar throughout the years, which we were not able to map directly to other holiday events. But so still, this leads us to conclude that they are not targeting holidays. It happens that they are as active in other periods of the year, but also active during the holidays in 2023. So what we think about hackers' schedules now is, yes, they have weekends, as we saw. They sleep at night, but they also slow down during the holidays. Or at least, if they don't slow down, they don't increase their activity. They're basically consistent. Now, about critical thinking. If you receive information on LinkedIn that goes around a specific narrative, there are several pitfalls that we should try to avoid, or at least try to repackage their message and spread something. And here, like a couple of examples, but when there's no data, that you just have a feeling. So this is like no data and or anecdotes. So, oh yeah, my friend got hacked over the holiday, so it means that everyone's getting hacked during the holiday. But also, correlation does not imply causation. I hear a lot of people say, yeah, it's our busy period of the year. We are on change freeze and stuff like that. Yeah, that's because your business is running hot, not because hackers are running hot necessarily. There's no, cause to effect. And maybe it means developers should do overtime, not cybersecurity folks. And again, why are these messages so frequent on social media? Most of the time it's because people are trying to sell stuff. And so this is what we advise here. Now, to conclude, I believe knowledge is power, and this is why we looked at it, and that people should dig into their own data. You should explore more protocols than RDP. RDP is obviously a limiting factor here. Your organization's concerns should be the ones. But so this is why we open sourced the code that we use for the calendar of attack heat map. It's not, super complex code, but it's not trivial code. It's a couple of hundred lines of Python and Plotly specific graph stuff. And so it's available on as a Jupyter notebook that you can fetch on GitHub, and the source is actually just JSON files, so you can adapt it to whatever logs you have, be it EVT or other web application specific logs. It could be interesting for you to tell your bosses that there is no correlation of attacks during the holidays, so that you can enjoy the holidays without the pager or other things. And sorry, I rushed it a little bit because I had to squeeze extra minute. I'm sorry for the next presenter, but I had computer issues at the beginning. And that's it. I'm done.